Now I'm just actually doing a very fast kind of outline. Okay, so yeah, and as I'm doing this, I'm trying to use continuous line, and normally I'm not a big fan of utilizing that word outline. Looking at some negative spaces, and it's also a much quicker way for me to get it in. So I'm going to just come on into this nasal bone area now, and as I'm doing this, I'm like looking from here to here. I don't want this drawing to become like the layered approach series where I talk about the angles and all that stuff. I mean, I'll touch on it, but I won't talk about that the whole time, because I think you want to know what anatomy is important and how to use that when you're drawing, say, a portrait. And I'm gonna dissect every piece of the body. We're gonna start with the skull. We're gonna do the rib cage. We're gonna do the pelvis. But the important thing is yeah, okay, fine. You want to see me do the drawing of the individual anatomy parts. But I think the more important thing is if I get a photo of a person and I point out in that photo what to look for and where you're going to see the bones and all that stuff. Okay, so now I've got like a rough skull down, all right? So what I think I'm going to do next is I'm just going to put some tone down, because I think I know that I draw a little bit better with the tone. So I'm just going to scribble this in. Now this eye socket area seems to be a little bit off, and let's just kind of get that in. Let's just darken that. Okay, and let's cruise on into this eye socket. Now, eye sockets, the technical term for them is orbital bone. I think it's easier just to say eye socket. It's where your eyeball obviously sits in. So it's something that I use a lot when I talk about it in the portrait DVD. And I'm going to use it a lot on this one, because it kind of, instead of drawing like two lines for your eyes, you really want to focus on the eye socket shape instead, because that just gives you some really nice shadow shapes to cling on to. So let's just come on down now and continue with this tonal thing, and this will really kind of get the whole form down a little bit quicker. When I look at this skull, and for those of you who are wondering, this is not a real skull. I have a plastic teaching skeleton that I purchased years ago, because I taught anatomy at the School of Visual Arts for a couple of semesters, and I had one skeleton that the school gave to me, but one skeleton doesn't cut it when you've got like 12 students, so I would have two skeletons set up in the classroom. So I don't teach that anymore, and I have this skeleton sitting in a box in my basement. So I think it's important, because when I'm doing figure drawing, the skeleton is pretty much the main thing that I think about, all the time. I'm at a point where all the techniques that I've taught to you are really just going on in the back of my mind, in my subconscious, but I mainly think about, the bones and the muscles and what is happening under the skin, because that really dictates my where my line goes. Okay, so I'm cruising along here. I'm really, right now, my next thing is going to measure from here to here, and I'll just put in like a little tone over here, and I tend to draw a little bit better when I'm not necessarily talking about like each technique to its completion. It's kind of like if you're an athlete and you're a runner, you don't want to run and say, well, on this step I'm going to be thinking about the next hurdle. So when you do that, you tend to not run as good. So sometimes when I do the tutorials, I'm thinking about talking about the techniques rather than just drawing them intuitively. So I tend to sometimes screw up a bit. So this one seems to be going pretty smooth, and I've been drawing a little bit more as of late, so that whole hand coordination thing has really been totally up to speed. So let's skinny up this nasal bone area. Okay, that's better. And put a little bit more tone, and we're not even like thinking about teeth right now. We are so thinking about squinting at the jaw and just kind of looking at the light side and the shadow side. The teeth we can maybe do like a little bit later. It's not really that important. So this is our main impression of the skull. Okay, I'm going to switch pencils in a second. Let me just get this front plane cheekbone in. And I've got a decent photo. What I'm going to be doing for you on this Jordan Tutorials website is photographing more models. And I'm going to be doing that this September and October. I just started teaching again at the School of Visual Arts. This is the first week. So what I usually do is I hire models and I photograph them after class in the classroom situation. So I'm going to be photographing way more models. Now, why am I talking about this? Because I was reluctant to use a photograph of a model that I've used on the portrait DVD. He's a great guy, don't get me wrong. I mean, I really like him, but I'm trying to give you like a little bit more variety. So that's the main reason why I'm gonna photograph some more models, and just all around I'll be able to give you like more PDFs. More of the short online poses, which I think is really important for you to do that like every once in a while. Even if you don't want to do the whole online pose where you're going to actually draw in your sketchbook, maybe at least just do a few. And that's where I think it's crucial that I give you a bunch of different, models. Okay, so there's my rough skull. Okay, and I think I did that in like 7 minutes. Now, if I wanted to, I can just kind of keep cranking with it, but let me stop, and we're going to go on to the next chapter, and now I'm going to start talking about a little bit of anatomy.